Ever wondered just what's happening when you get tapped on the knee at the doctor's office and your leg just jumps?
It's like our bodies have some kind of secret code they're responding to, right?
Exactly. Well, today we're doing a deep dive into that secret code, the world of muscle reflexes.
Specifically, the stretch reflex.
Yeah, that's the star of the show today.
And we've got a great guide to help us break it all down.
We're using a physiology handout on the stretch reflex from Dr. Rasha Eldeeb.
She's an associate professor of medical physiology.
So we're going to get a clear scientific understanding.
It's pretty amazing stuff.
I'm ready to unlock some of those aha moments about how our bodies work.
So let's jump in.
Yeah, let's start with the basics. What exactly is the stretch reflex?
Well, you know, that knee-jerk reaction, that's it in action. It's your body's automatic response to a muscle being stretched.
So kind of like my muscles have a built-in spring.
Yeah, you could think of it that way.
That makes sense.
And it's a super important protective mechanism.
Hey, protective.
Yeah, it helps prevent injuries.
Oh, okay, I see.
Like, imagine you trip and your foot suddenly stretches forward.
Oh, yeah.
That stretch reflex instantly activates the muscles in your leg to contract, preventing you from, like, a faceplant.
Oh, so it helps us keep our balance?
Exactly. It's like an automatic safety net.
Okay, so how does it actually work? Where does it all start?
Well, it all begins with these tiny sensors called muscle spindles.
Muscle spindles.
Yeah, they're embedded within our muscles.
Huh. So they're like little spies inside our muscles reporting back on what's happening.
That's a great analogy. They constantly monitor how stretched our muscles are.
Yeah, they're like those motion detectors that set off alarms.
Yeah, kind of. But instead of a siren, they send signals through the nervous system.
Oh, so it goes all the way to our brain.
Well, actually, the signal first goes to the spinal cord.
The spinal cord?
Yeah, it travels super fast along these specialized nerve fibers.
It's like a high-speed train.
Exactly. It's an express route for that vital information.
Wow, so there are different types of signals going back and forth.
You got it. There are actually two main types of nerve fibers involved.
Okay, that's getting a bit complex.
The express ones are responsible for those rapid knee-jerk reactions.
Well, they make us jump.
Right. And then there are the slower ones.
Slower? What are they called?
Those are more involved in things like maintaining posture and steady contractions.
So like when we're just standing still?
Yeah.
Okay, so the signal goes from the muscle spindle to the spinal cord.
Mm.
But then what happens? How does the muscle actually get the message to contract?
Well, that signal from the spinal cord also travels through a dedicated set of nerve fibers.
Back to the muscle.
Right back, carrying that contract command.
So it's like a two-way communication system.
It is, and it's happening in milliseconds.
That's incredible. Our bodies are so efficient.
They really are. And to make things even more fascinating, there are different types of muscle spindles, too.
Oh, no. More types.
Don't worry, it's not too complicated.
Okay, good.
We've got nuclear bag fibers.
Nuclear bag. Sounds intense.
They're really sensitive to those quick changes in muscle length.
So they're the ones responsible for those super fast reflexes.
Exactly.
Okay, what about the other type?
Those are called nuclear chain fibers.
Nuclear chain. Trying to picture what those look like.
Well, imagine a tiny bag filled with nuclei.
Like the center of a cell?
Yep. That's your nuclear bag fiber, super sensitive like a spring.
Okay, I see that.
And the nuclear chain fiber, imagine a chain with those nuclei lined up.
Oh, okay, I see the difference.
It's more like a steady ruler, constantly measuring the length of the muscle.
So we've got the spring and the ruler working together.
Perfect analogy. They make sure we have both quick reflexes and steady muscle control.
Wow, so it's like a two-part system within a two-part system.
Exactly. And that's why we're so good at moving in all sorts of ways.
Our bodies really are incredible.
They are, and we've only just scratched the surface of the stretch reflex.
There's even more to discover.
Oh yeah, we're just getting started.
I can't wait to dig deeper.
Me too. Let's take a break and come back for more.
All right, we're back and ready to dive even deeper into those amazing stretch reflexes.
You know, it's funny, you don't really think about them much in daily life.
Yeah, until the doctor makes you jump on the table.
Right. But they're working all the time, keeping us balanced and coordinated.
You were talking about all those different nerve fibers and muscle spindles.
Yeah, all that intricate communication going on.
But you mentioned there were even more variations of this reflex.
Oh, there's a lot more to the story than just that basic knee jerk.
My brain's ready for more.
Well, let's talk about something called the negative stretch reflex.
Negative stretch reflex. Okay, that sounds kind of counterintuitive.
It might seem that way at first, but it's really important.
So instead of contracting, the muscle relaxes when it's stretched.
Exactly. Think about it like this. You're holding a heavy book, and you want to lower it down slowly.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
Your bicep muscle is shortening as you lower the book, right?
Right.
But the negative stretch reflex prevents it from contracting too quickly.
Oh, I see.
So the movement is smooth and controlled, no jerky drops.
So it's like a braking system, but for our muscles.
That's a great way to put it. It helps fine-tune those movements.
It's amazing how much our body does automatically.
It really is. And all this control gets even more sophisticated with the
The
cerebellum.
cerebellum, isn't that the part of the brain that helps with balance?
That's right. It's like a master conductor for all our movements.
Wow, so it's involved in the stretch reflex too?
Oh, yeah. It gets input from those muscle spindles we talked about.
So it's like a constant feedback loop
Exactly. The muscles, the spinal cord, and the cerebellum all working together.
to make sure we move smoothly and gracefully.
You got it.
But I thought the cerebellum was mostly about balance, not power.
It does both. In fact, the stretch reflex actually plays a role in generating power, too.
Wait, really? How does stretching a muscle make it stronger?
It's all about that initial stretch before you lift something heavy.
Oh yeah, you can definitely feel that. When you stretch the muscle quickly, that stretch reflex kicks in and causes a rapid contraction.
So it's like priming the muscle.
Exactly. That quick contraction gets it ready to generate more force when you actually lift the weight.
So it's kind of like a slingshot. Pull it back to get more power.
Perfect analogy.
So I should be paying attention to that stretch before I lift weights.
Definitely. Feel that resistance, that engagement of the stretch reflex.
I'm going to try that next time I'm at the gym.
It's a good way to become more aware of what your body's doing.
So we've talked about how the stretch reflex helps us and protects us from injury.
Mm-hmm.
But are there ever times when it could actually work against us?
That's a great question. And the answer is sometimes yes.
Oh, no, really?
Especially in athletes when muscles are fatigued or overstretched.
I could see how that might be a problem.
If the muscle's already tired, that stretch reflex might not be as effective.
So it wouldn't protect as well against sudden movements.
Right, which means you're more susceptible to strains or tears.
So it's all about knowing your limits and not pushing too hard.
That's exactly right. Listen to your body, warm up properly, and don't overdo it.
Good advice.
But even with those potential downsides, the stretch reflex is still an incredible system.
I'm definitely impressed by it.
It's a perfect example of how our bodies are designed to move efficiently and safely.
Millions of years of evolution at work.
You got it.
Well, this deep dive has been amazing so far.
We've learned so much, but there's still more to uncover.
Okay, my brain needs a minute to process all this, but I'm ready for more.
Me too. Let's dive into the final part of our exploration.
All right, we're back.
Ready for the final stretch of our deep dive into the stretch reflex?
More like the stretch reflex's final stretch.
Aha! I like that.
But seriously, it's been amazing exploring all those intricate mechanisms that happen every time we move.
It's mind-blowing how much is going on without us even realizing it.
Absolutely. We've learned about those tiny muscle spindles, the lightning-fast nerve signals.
And how the brain, spinal cord, and muscles are all constantly talking to each other.
It's like a perfectly choreographed dance, but on a microscopic level.
A very, very fast dance.
Speaking of fast, you mentioned earlier that the stretch reflex can actually help us generate more power.
Yeah, especially when we're lifting heavy things.
But how does that work? I mean, stretching a muscle usually makes me feel weaker, not stronger.
It seems counterintuitive, right? But it's all about that initial rapid stretch.
Okay, I'm listening.
So picture this. You're about to lift a heavy weight.
Got it.
You start to lift it, and your muscles stretch quickly.
Right, you can definitely feel that stretch.
That's when the stretch reflex kicks in. Ah, so it's contracting the muscle even before I'm consciously trying to lift the weight.
Exactly. That rapid contraction actually primes the muscle.
Like it's getting ready for action.
Exactly. And that priming allows it to generate more force when you actually lift the weight.
So it's adding to the power I'm consciously putting in.
You could say that. Think of it like a slingshot being pulled back. Okay, that makes sense. The farther you pull back the slingshot, the more power it has when you release it.
Exactly. That's what's happening in your muscles when you use that initial stretch to your advantage.
So next time I'm at the gym, I should really pay attention to that initial stretch.
Try it. Focus on that feeling, that slight resistance before you lift.
Like I'm engaging those reflexes to help me out.
Exactly.
I'll definitely experiment with that.
It's a great way to become more aware of the power of your own body.
Speaking of awareness, we've talked a lot about the benefits of the stretch reflex.
How it keeps us balanced, protects us from injury, even helps us lift heavier weights.
But is there ever a downside? Can it ever work against us?
That's a good question, and the answer is yes, sometimes.
Oh, I'm curious to hear about this.
Especially in athletes, or anyone pushing their muscles to the limit.
I can see how that might be a problem.
If a muscle's already fatigued or overstretched, that stretch reflex might not be as effective.
So it wouldn't protect as well against those sudden, forceful movements.
Exactly. You're more susceptible to strains or tears if you're not careful.
So it's really important to listen to your body and not push too hard.
Absolutely. Warm up properly, stretch, and don't ignore those signs of fatigue.
Words of wisdom. It's all about finding that balance, right?
That's it. Challenging yourself, but respecting your limits.
Well, this deep dive has been incredible.
It's amazing what we can learn from something as simple as a knee-jerk reaction.
It really is. We've gone from those tiny muscle spindles all the way to the cerebellum.
And we've seen how it all works together to keep us moving through the world.
Smoothly, safely, and powerfully.
It's a pretty amazing system when you think about it.
Absolutely. And there's probably even more to discover.
Oh, definitely. Science is always uncovering new layers of complexity.
So, to our listeners, next time you feel that tap on your knee at the doctor's office,
Or anywhere else, really.
take a moment to appreciate those amazing stretch reflexes.
They're working hard to keep you upright and moving.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the fascinating world of the stretch reflex.
Until next time, stay curious.